Some more on the 1974. When I was younger, it was a different time, and the wheels that you would get on a Porsche were these things called Fuchs wheels. They typically had a black center, and they were okay, and you'd see a Beetle every now and then running around, typically on a replica of those things. And but when I grew up, they primarily, if you didn't run a Fuchs, it was like the cookie cutters, which you could get on the 944, or these things, phone dials. And I've always been enamored with phone dials. I always thought these were like the prettiest Porsche rims you could ever possibly get. So way back before I stopped driving my Beetles, I decided I would get some phone dials, So I started with this one and this one right here. And I went to an online place. So I don't believe it's actually, they're out of business now. Otherwise I would badmouth the guy. But I said, hey, I need some wheels. This is my application. And he says, oh, okay, I'll get them for you. And he sends me 928 wheels. And the back spacing on these things is incorrect. $400 each. The guy wouldn't take my money back. He's like, no, I gave you what you asked for. He's like, no, I asked for something specific. A 944 rim, which is over there. And he sends me 928 rims. But I was dumb. I gave the guy a cashier's check. So let that be a lesson to any of you. No cashier's checks to anybody you ever do business with. Never, ever do a cashier's check. Use your credit card. If they can't take a credit card, they're not legit. The only exception would be like cash through Craigslist. But anyway, the 928s don't work. I got $800 just sitting there. Decades they've been sitting there. What a waste. We move over to these guys right here. These are 944 turbo rims, 16 by 7, I believe. Yeah, 16 by 7. Got these at a junkyard. Those guys were takeoffs. These things were like brand new. But these are junkyard wheels. Really straight and clean, a little bit of dirt on them. But eventually these guys will work. And these are going to go on the back of my 74, eventually. And we move on down this way. And these are my cheapest ones ever. These things I thought were 924S wheels. This one was covered with some like overspray paint. That's what this actually isn't dust. This is actually paint. It's overspray. So that one didn't cost very much. This one's real pretty and clean. It cost a little bit more, but wasn't terrible. And but it turns out, I checked the part numbers on these things. They're not actually 924S wheels. They're 911 wheels, and they are 15 by 6. And these are going to run on the front of my 74 should I ever get around to it. And I think they're going to be spectacular, and they're going to look better than any other friggin' wheel you could put on your Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, they're kind of a roundish car, and this is kind of a roundish type wheel. I just think they look great. But that's just my own personal opinion. But yeah, the future of the 74, that's what the wheels are going to be right there. And here's another little bonus item we have over here in the storage facility. An entire VW motor. I'm not entirely sure what kind of camshaft I put in here, but it certainly isn't a mileage camshaft. It's probably like something along the lines of an angle 100, angle 110, something like that. But I used to experiment so much that I had just piles of extra parts laying around. So I had some decent heads. I don't think these are stock. These things actually got some like big valves on them. And rocker arm assemblies, pistons. I had an extra crankshaft, and I had this case, and this case is my 1974 case. So this one, if I wanted a matching numbers car, I could pop this back into my car. But anyway, I built this thing back in probably 1990 or 1991, something like that, and it has been sitting around collecting dust and rust, because there is some rust on here. It's not terrible, but yeah, decades of just not using it. But I bet that if I bolted this thing up and spun it around a couple of times, it'd fire up. I mean, look at the rust on the end of the crankshaft right there. I mean, you wouldn't really want to put a pulley on that, but I bet this thing would fire up. You know, it was pretty solid back in the day, and it'd probably run pretty quick too. But there it is, my 1974 case, just stuck up here in my storage facility. Alright, somebody may have noticed at one point in time that there was a little blue car sitting right behind the wheels. Well, there's another look at the blue car. This is the first car I ever bought. It is not a Volkswagen Beetle. And not only is it the first new car I ever bought, it's the only new car I ever bought, and I don't plan on buying another new car. So it's gorgeous, and it's only got like 24,000 miles on it. I bought it at the tail end of 1991, with the expectation that I would be able to crack it out when I was a 60-year-old guy, to have a one-owner, one-off vehicle. And this one is without a doubt that. So, okay, say goodbye to all the juicy goodies in there. Alright, continuing on with our tour of the 74. Alright, so it's a 2-liter motor. That's nice and desirable, but it's not just that. I mean, you can always recreate that. But under these valve covers right here is something that you cannot buy today. I've got 1.4 to 1 needle bearing rockers in there. Alright, you just can't buy those today. And oh my god, the noise they make, it's just insane. I mean, you drive up and everybody's got like a Beetle noise, but you listen to this one and you just go, oh my god, there's something else crazy going on under there. And you get this hiss, this buzzing, bzzz, and they make just the weirdest friggin' noise like you wouldn't believe. And very cool. But anyway, who knows, they're so friggin' old, they probably rusted and I can't use them. But if they're in shape, man, they go on to the next build. Now, I need to do a little bit more under here. There's more I got to show you. Let me see if I can wiggle my way under here so that we can move on to the next interesting piece. Let's see here. Alright, there's nothing special looking about any of that stuff right there, and there shouldn't be, but as you move back, some of you might be noticing, hey, wait a minute, there's something kind of unusual looking somewhere right about in, yeah, right about in there. That doesn't look quite right. Let's move a little bit further back. Probably see all the way back into the mount back here. You probably say, wait a minute, that doesn't look right either. But in particular, the thing you have to look at is that little thing that's kind of shiny right there. So what you're looking at right there is one of the very last 5-speeds that Mickey ever built. This is indeed a Mickey 5-speed. And it's got custom gear ratios. I had, of course, it's got a 388 ring and pinion. It's got the standard first, second. I think I had him give me a little bit closer third, a little bit tighter fourth, and a massive overdrive on fifth. There's a couple of gears I think you can pull out of a bus, and you throw one of those on here. So it is just a monster overdrive. With that 2-liter motor I got, the compression that I'm running, and this 5-speed right here, I used to do good solid 38 miles per gallon at about 65, and with this transmission in there, you did 65. I mean, it was just like loafing. I don't know what 60 was. 60 might have been 2,200 RPMs. 65 was about 2,300. Maybe 70 was around 2,400 RPMs. I mean, you know, this is what Volkswagen should have built. They should have stuck this in here. And everybody who complains and gripes about the Mickey 5-speed, about how crummy it was, I drag raced this thing. I got pictures of me taking it down the drag strip. I drove this thing thousands of freaking miles. Now, the transmission doesn't work. It has reversed first and second gears work, and third, fourth, and fifth, it pops out of gear. But Mickey told me when I installed this thing, he said, make real sure that when you install your shifter, make sure that your shifter does not bind left or right. You've got to have full range of motion. And, you know, and of course I installed it, and I was doing things quick, and I was young, and just go, oh man, this is so freaking cool. And it's like, yeah, well, it's a little bit tight, but yeah, it's not, I don't really have to push on it all that hard to get it over there. Well, it was too much. So there's a little bit of, you know, if you just like keep constant pressure on the gears, you know, and in this particular case, it was fifth gear, your shift forks are always bind in there. They're always up rubbing, and I'm not absolutely positive that's what happened to the transmission, but I'm pretty sure that the shift fork has failed. And when it failed, it took out 3 of my gears. So I've got that is the repair that I need to make to this transmission. But I spent nearly $2,000 on this transmission back then, and I imagine that if somebody actually had one of these and threw it on the Samba, I imagine it'd probably go for $5,000. And you know, if you think I'm making this stuff up, look, if you trace the history of the Mickey sold his tooling to Raby, Jake Raby, and that guy does his work out in somewhere in the foothills of the Georgia mountains. Anyway, he's a Type 4 guy. Well, he took all the tooling and has been continuing to build and improve the Mickey 5 at his place. And he will not sell you one of these. You have to buy the transmission along with a Type 4 build that he does. He's got one specific combination. You have to buy the entire combination. The entire combination will cost you, I think, somewhere around $16,000. So, yeah, this is a rare and juicy little piece of stuff, and that's why I've decided that between my two cars, this is the one that I'm keeping. And I got to tell you, man, it is just friggin' glorious riding down the road in this thing. Just, you know, that big old 2-liter in the back humming along, and, you know, 65, 70 miles an hour, just tooling along at 2400 RPM. It's just friggin', it's just insane. It's like, you know, like I say, this is how Volkswagen should build it. And don't talk about, like, oh, you're not cooling your car enough. 38 miles per gallon. You're really not burning that much gas. And like I say, I probably got 60,000 miles on this car with that 2-liter in there. And it was still jamming when I stopped driving it. So, glorious fun vehicle this was. And one of these days, I'm going to pop this thing back together. Throw those wheels on there, get some paint on it again. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.